with choices to be made.
Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Buffet on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Buffet on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, here I am. You're listening to the Love by Intuition show, and I'm the founder and owner of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. We're a Boston-based syndicated internet radio station, global, and we are also the media partner for the Omega Institute. And coming up in May, you'll start hearing different commercials, and we highlight certain workshops there, and you, the listener, has the opportunity to attend for 20% off. So there's lots of bennies when you listen to Dream Vision 7 radio network. Well, I have a special guest, and before we bring her in, I'd like to give the number out because Bob is in the house, and if you'd like to call in and ask Diane a question, our number here is 833-220-1200. Again, 833-220-1200. Our guest is Diane Spindler. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist and mental health counselor, and she is the founder of Gentle Reprocessing. Our topic is, how does trauma keep you from blossoming? Now, first, come on in, Diane, and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Deborah. I appreciate it.
Yes, and you're right. You're welcome. You're right here in Massachusetts, Central Mass.
Yes, I am.
Yes, and so you have, created this gentle reprocessing that actually helps people with anxiety, PTSD, panic attacks, phobias, OCD, all those kinds of things. But now, what happened, or how did you evolve to creating gentle reprocessing? And if you could tell us what it's all about.
Well, 30 years ago, I became a psychotherapist, and I was really disappointed because my clients were healing so slowly. So I went on a quest looking for the perfect way to help them heal quicker and more deeply and more permanently. Well, I started taking classes and all kinds of things and found that everything had something to offer, but nothing had all of it. So gentle reprocessing is a unique combination of everything I learned over those years that helps people heal quickly, deeply, and permanently.
Good. So I'm curious how you named it the gentle. So is it because it's so easy, or tell us why the name?
Well, a lot of the programs out there, a lot of the techniques out there when I was taking classes were very harsh on the psyche. And I wanted something that was going to go slow enough so people were feeling like they were taken care of throughout. And basically what I look for is trauma. And trauma comes in four things. It's made up of four things. One is the event that happens. So if you didn't get enough brownies when you were a little girl, everybody else got brownies. Your mom made brownies for the neighborhood, but she didn't serve them to you. That would be the trauma. And then the feelings and where they are in the body. I'm sure a lot of your listeners know about how feelings get stuck in the body. So I call those the twins. So in the case of the brownies, you might feel kind of hurt in your stomach because you didn't get enough, and maybe really angry in your fists, and a lot of other feelings and body sensations. But the fourth thing is the most damaging, and that is the negative beliefs that people start to build about themselves. So in the case, again, of the brownies, they might say, there must be something wrong with me. I must be broken. I'm too fat. I'm unlovable. I'm unwanted. Those types of things. So then when any other thing happens to them that corresponds to those things, they just start to collect evidence that, oh yeah, they're not good enough. And that's the underlying
the triggers, right?
No, those aren't the triggers. Those are the negative beliefs people have.
Okay.
But so that's what makes up a trauma, is all those things together. And what my process does is help people let go of the emotions and the body sensations. And once that's done, it's no longer so sticky anymore. And then we can put in positive cognitions or beliefs to replace those old ones.
Yes. So it's fascinating because most of us, I think all of us, have trauma at one time or another from childhood and on. And a lot of people don't realize that trauma really crosses over on a lot of things, even simply talking about your brownies. It can be something so small, and yet it made a negative effect on us. And it's stored in that cell memory. And, So
true.
Go ahead.
No, I said so true. Trauma comes in so many flavors. And even clinicians that have been in the field a long time have no idea how many flavors trauma comes in.
Right. So you talk about external and internal gentle reprocessing. What is the difference for the listeners?
Well, external uses drawing, which is on the outside, to get rid of those feelings, those negative feelings and body sensations. And the internal uses a guided meditation, which is on the inside, to get rid of those feelings and negative the body sensations. That's it in a nutshell.
And you work with children a lot on the external end of things, correct?
Well, when I developed the external, there was very little for children. There was a lot of play therapy, but it wasn't actually it was helping people slowly to get rid of the feelings. But I developed what back then I called slaying the monster. In a nutshell, you put a picture of yourself beside a picture of your bad feelings about whatever happened, and then you erase the part with what I call the monster, where the bad feelings were, and then I follow that with a positive story about defeating the monster, and then you go back and do the pictures again. And by the time you go back and do the pictures again, they've changed dramatically in most cases. And kids, because they have so few things that they're dealing with, let go of things pretty quickly. I've used it with kids as young as 2.5.
Oh, wow. Wow. Now, with the adults, do you find because of the way the world is right now, or has been for a few years, there's a lot of fear, so there's many of the belief systems that we hold in may be bubbling up, or I always say it's important to go even deeper because there's so much to be, a lot of times when you're working on it through your lifetime, there may be some left over, and when you get to that core, many times it can be taken care of in just a few minutes. Does that make sense to you, or do you see that in your practice?
Absolutely. I mean, the further away the trauma is, the easier it is to get rid of, because it's just waiting for somebody to come along and give it a way of being transformed. But I think the more trauma people have, the more they need to come in and do some work, whether it's with me or with someone else. There's a lot of processes out there to let go of trauma. But I find that this works fairly quickly for most people. For instance, if someone has been raped It usually takes me a couple of sessions and, hour sessions, and they walk away not carrying that tremendous amount of fear and anger around what happened to them, and they're able to get on with their lives.
Wow, that's amazing. In 2 sessions?
Sometimes not even that much, but, at least 2 sessions.
Wow, because that is something so many women hold on to for years and decades.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't tell anybody.
Yes. So, or kids that are molested, or a lot of times that is stuffed in the cell memory, and sometimes you're not even aware that happened, especially if you're little, unless you do, hypnotherapy or something to that effect.
Well, one of the nice things about Gentle is that I can go pre-verbal with people. So even if it happened before kids even realized it, we can look at or let go of the feelings that came up in the body and in the different feelings. So they don't need to know what happened. It doesn't help bring up more memory. Some people say, I want to know what happened, but it doesn't actually do that, but it lets go of what happened, and at that point they don't really need to know what happened.
Okay. So for example, say someone comes to you, and they're an adult woman, and maybe they've been molested or something as a child, and they may not be aware of it, but they're holding these belief systems of anger, and they're not good enough, and feeling guilty, but maybe not knowing where that guilt is coming from, shame, all those things. So how do you actually have a conversation with them, and that's how you start the process? Tell us how you begin.
Well, I begin with a very thorough history, and I'm looking for traumas in someone's life. So I usually ask about, what their religious background is, because that sometimes can be a trauma.
Yes.
What if they were ever hospitalized? Because a small child being in a hospital by themselves for any extended amount of time can be a trauma. Have they gone through a war, or with all the weather issues in the United States today? If you go through an ice storm or a flood or a tornado, all of those things leave an impression on not just children but adults as well. So I'm looking for those types of things, and then I look for, emotional trauma. There's chronic trauma is if you grow up in a household where, your parents are fighting all the time, or there's an ill person, either mentally or physically ill, or maybe drug or alcohol problems in that household. So it's what you know, but it also has a negative effect on how you see yourself.
Right. And a lot of them are these patterns, and I'm sure with working with people with addictions, you get a feel of those commonalities that they may be believing and living with.
Well, when you let go of the reasons that people are using drugs and alcohol, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, when they don't have those reasons anymore, it allows them to stop drinking or stop using drugs, because I see drugs and alcohol in a lot of cases as a coping mechanism.
Right.
And if they don't need that coping mechanism anymore, it allows them to let it go.
Right. And yet you have to be ready, because we have a couple of people in our family that haven't been able to, I don't think they really want to. They're really stuck, and they live what had happened to them as a child almost in every day. It's who they are. They've attached what has happened to who they are.
Well, Deb, let me tell you about a case I had. So okay. I was working in a clinic. And I always ask, have you ever had any sexual abuse? And I'm amazed at how many people, even though they've gone to therapy